Canada Post workers remain on the job despite not reaching a deal with the Crown Corporation. Mail is still being delivered, but a warning, there could be delays. Good afternoon. The deadline has come and gone without an agreement, but mail is still moving today.
Canada Post workers opted not to walk off the job at midnight. However, the union is telling members not to work any overtime. CTV's Beth MacDonnell is live at Canada Post South Central letter processing plant with the latest. Beth.
Nathan and Michelle, this is another twist in the long-running labor dispute. CUPW has told members to halt overtime as it reviews the latest offer. The union says members have been told to refuse any work beyond 8 hours a day and 40 hours a week. Canada Post says there is no work stoppage and operations continue, but has warned of possible delays. All this comes as the union is in a legal strike position as of today. Last night, the two sides met once again, but a deal was failed to be reached. Wages in this era of rising inflation is one of the big issues. We have heard over and over that part-time work on weekends is one of the biggest sticking points. Right now, mail carriers must be paid for extra shifts Saturday and Sunday. And Canada Post has been pushing for a core of part-time workers as needed for parcels and during peak demand.
The meeting last night was informal. The only addressed at a very high level, two of the many issues that still remain outstanding after 2 years. So it wasn't really meaningful progress. We're continuing to operate today. The union has taken some action, but we're operating on fumes. Canadian customers and everybody is avoiding the post office because they don't want their items to be trapped. So our volumes are down significantly.
We are evaluating the 700-page detailed offer that Canada Post has given us. We were at the bargaining table yesterday to discuss certain aspects of it, and we're hoping that we'll have a good collective agreement that would be ratified by our members. Canada Post did give us this offer on Wednesdays. This was the first time after negotiating for over 2 years. So I'm very optimistic, but there is work to be done, and there's some negotiations to be had.
It's better than a strike. Why? Because the strike drives customers away. We saw that in the last strike. Actually, we've seen it in strikes going further back in time, but most recently in December. There's already good evidence out there reporting of businesses continuing in anticipation of this strike to switch. So this is accelerating the decline of Canada Post.
If we see another strike, it will be the second strike in about the past 6 months. The Canadian Federation for Independent Business says the last strike resulted in an estimated $1.6 billion in losses for small businesses. And Canada Post has seen losses of more than $3 billion since 2018. Reporting live, I'm Beth MacDonnell. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. Turning now to details of an overnight restaurant fire in Scarborough.
Toronto police are investigating this blaze as suspected arson and are now on the hunt for suspects. CTV's Janice Golding is live at the scene this afternoon with more. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. A very frightening experience for workers at this East End restaurant after a two-alarm fire that police believe was deliberately set. Now, workers tell us it was around 2:45 a.m. when they saw suspects break into Shaw's Indian Cuisine near Kennedy and Lawrence and pour what appeared to be gasoline into the restaurant. They also say the men would then set the gasoline on fire before adding a tire to the blaze. Workers also allege one suspect used a cell phone to record what was happening. There were 4 employees inside the restaurant at the time. When Toronto Fire arrived on scene, the restaurant was fully engulfed. However, staff would make it out of the restaurant safely with no injuries reported. The restaurant's manager tells CTV they don't know why the restaurant was targeted, but a staff member says this is the second time this restaurant's East End location has been broken into in less than a year. The fire marshal's office says it will be investigating.
So one of my female colleagues, she went at the front and to grab a spoon. As soon as she went there, she started screaming and called me. When I went there, what I saw was gasoline all over the floor, up to the center of the restaurant.
So they throw the petrol inside in the restaurant and they fire, meaning these people don't care about the humanity. But what's going on in Scarborough, especially I can say about my restaurants, our restaurant owners, we are unsafe. So we need more protection.
Police say 3 men last seen wearing dark clothing and masks left the area. Anyone with any information is asked to contact Toronto Police. Reporting live from Janice Golding. Now back to Nathan.
Thank you, Janice. Still ahead, Toronto City Council approves a bylaw to restrict protests near places of worship, daycares, and schools in the city, despite concerns it will infringe on residents' rights. Details a little later in the newscast. We're going to hear more from MLSE brass this afternoon about the club cutting ties with Toronto Maple Leaf president Brendan Shanahan.
It was announced yesterday that after over a decade on the job, Shanahan's contract will not be renewed when it expires at the end of June. CTV's Allison Hurst is live at Scotiabank Arena with reaction from Leaf fans. Allison.
We have been speaking with fans who say they would like to see some changes to the makeup of the organization and the team, with the hopes that it will help them have a deeper run into the playoffs. Fans were disappointed by the Leafs' performance yet again and are going to see some changes to the head office. The MLSE announced yesterday Brendan Shanahan is out as the president, and they are not going to be renewing his contract after more than a decade in the role and just 2 postseason victories. Shanahan thanked the organization, players, and fans in a statement on his own, saying, "Being a part of this historic franchise will always be one of the greatest honors of my life." He added that his biggest regret was not bringing a cup to Toronto.
He stuck to the plan about building around the core 4, but that did not result in playoff success.
It sounded like he had a pretty good experience the last 9 years or so. Like he kind of got the Leafs to the playoffs for 9 years in a row, I think. So I think he's had a good run, but maybe they're kind of looking for someone new to take them to the next level.
I'm indifferent at this point. Apathetic. I don't know. 10 years. I don't know. I'm 43. I'm just dead inside for all those years. What can you do? Got to switch it up.
MLSE President and CEO Keith Pelley will be speaking at a news conference later today, but he did say yesterday that Brendan's contributions will be remembered for the team. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Allison. We have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. Another cloudy day, but it seems the rain has moved out. That's good, but there's still a chance of some light showers. And there are also concerns with the weather north of the city. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan, there is some light at the end of this tunnel. This stretch of wet weather we've been dealing with most of this week, it's gradually coming to an end, but many communities remain under a special weather statement, mainly north and east of Toronto, as mentioned. That's where we find the heavy rain at this hour. Still some wet weather around parts of the GTA, but if you're joining us from Hamilton over toward Niagara, even Oakville and Burlington, things have dried out significantly. Temperature-wise, we are in the double digits. That's a good thing. We've spent a lot of time in single-digit territory this week. It is still cool in some other areas. We've got winds today coming out of the west, and they are a little bit gusty. We're going to eventually tap into a bit more of a northwesterly wind, so that cools us down a little bit again. Forecast daytime high 12 degrees, hanging on to the periods of rain and then light showers into this evening. The weekend looks drier, but not completely dry. We'll take you through the weekend forecast coming up. For now, though, Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. We have disturbing new details about a W5 investigation we've been telling you about this week. A global network of rapists targeting their own wives and girlfriends.
Avery Haynes infiltrated the network to learn more about how the criminals are buying and administering powerful drugs to commit horrific acts.
The men in this online network post their videos on porn sites and do their business on the messaging app Telegram.
This isn't the dark web. It's public porn sites, forums, messaging apps, all of it hiding in plain sight.
Accompanying their homemade videos, comments where they call the unconscious women their dolls. Some just upload their crimes, others sell the videos and powerful sedatives so other men can make their own videos. Anesthetic gases with masks, portable anesthesia liquid vaporizers, drugs to knock women out, drugs to erase their memory in liquid and pills. Men in this network sold me the date rape drug, delivered as soap from the Netherlands. Our testing shows it's pure GHB. I ordered a legitimate beauty product from Amazon.ca that the men know how to turn into GHB. From Malaysia, this was delivered as hair serum, but it's known in the network as an obedience drug.
This is the translation. The obedience drug promises that they won't know how to resist, cannot think, will have no memory.
This man texts me that he can sell me propofol, but it's expensive and hard to find. I was able to order it online from a store in Edmonton, Alberta. No medical or business license needed, delivered right to the front door.
This is propofol. This is what anesthesiologists use to put somebody under for surgery. It's what killed Michael Jackson.
Oh, and thank you for calling Linen Plus.
I called Linen Plus head office in Edmonton.
How can I help you?
Is it legal to sell a medical-grade anesthetic to the public?
Yes, it is.
Linen Plus has now removed propofol from its website. A company lawyer claims only one order was ever filled, the one we placed, blaming a glitch in the system. Health Canada says selling the drug to the public is illegal, and because of our tip, they've now launched an investigation. We contacted Amazon.ca about that beauty product. It, too, is no longer for sale. Avery Haynes, CTV News, Toronto.
The trial of 5 former junior hockey players accused of sexual assault continues.
Yesterday, a Crown witness, a current NHL player who is not facing charges, broke down with emotion. CTV's Nick Paparella has the details from the courtroom.
The stress of testifying against former teammates was evident on Thursday when Brett Howden, another member of the 2018 Canadian World Junior Hockey Team, continued with his evidence. Testifying via webinar, he told the court about being in the same hotel room as all 5 defendants who are charged in this case. They are the same 5 players he partied with in London as they celebrated a gold medal win during a Hockey Canada gala. The court has heard that Howden was in room 209 at the Delta Armories Hotel downtown when some of the accused engaged in sex acts with a female. Under cross-examination from the defense, Howden, who now plays for the Vegas Golden Knights, was asked to recall the initial investigation almost 7 years ago. And he said, "I was very nervous when this was going on." The court has heard that he had a girlfriend at the time of the alleged incidents, and she is now his wife. Then he got very emotional and broke down, saying, "You know, for so long, you've just been trying to move on past this and forget about this all." He continued, "You know, one of the hardest things was explaining this to my family." And when trying to recall the events, he said, "You know, obviously, I remember the gist of what happened that night. It's hard for me to, go back in that time and remember it." Earlier in the day, the court heard about text messages between Howden and Taylor Radish, another former teammate who has already testified. Days after that night, Howden wrote, "Dude, I'm so happy I left." Then he referred to one of the accused, Dylan Dubé, when he texted, "Duber was smacking the girl's ass so hard. It looked like it hurt so bad." Dubé, along with the other 4 accused, Carter Hart, Cal Foote, Alex Formanton, and Michael McLeod, have all pled not guilty to sexual assault. The charges stem from an alleged incident in room 209 at the Delta Armories involving a group of men and a lone female in June of 2018. Like previous Crown witnesses who have testified at the trial, Howden was in the hotel room on the night in question. However, he is not accused of any wrongdoing in this case. The afternoon was tied up with more legal arguments between the Crown and the defense. Brett Howden continues to be the current witness in this case, and his testimony is expected to resume on Friday. Nick Paparella, CTV News.
New from Peel Police this noon hour, a suspect wanted in a deadly shooting in Brampton last month has been arrested. 18-year-old Damien Walker was wanted for second-degree murder. Investigators say he is now in custody. He's suspected in a deadly shooting that happened April 23rd. The victim, who police will only say was a male under the age of 18, was located in the area of Beach and Church Streets. The circumstances surrounding the shooting are under investigation, but police say it appears to be an isolated incident.
One of the city's speed enforcement cameras has apparently been vandalized for the 5th time in 6 months. Advocacy group Safe Parkside shared this photo of the downed camera lying on the side of the road. It was just reinstalled a week ago after being chopped down in mid-April. There have been over 300 reports of vandalism involving automated speed enforcement cameras so far this year. Despite those incidents, a few months back, the City of Toronto announced it was doubling the number of speed cameras to 150. And after intense debate at Toronto City Hall, councillors voted to create a bylaw limiting protests outside places of worship and other vulnerable institutions on a case-by-case basis. The policy came up for debate after protests on the doorsteps of places of worship across the GTA. Council voted to implement a so-called bubble zone around some faith-based institutions, daycares, and schools. Advocates say it's an additional tool that will help protect sensitive sites that have been targeted with hate, intimidation, and violence. Opponents say existing laws provide the necessary protections, and this policy erodes Torontonians' rights.
Spaces belong to everybody, and everybody has the right to express themselves.
We are creating a system that is going to chill speech in this country.
It doesn't take any rights away. It doesn't take away the right to protest, the right to picket, or the right to free speech. And all it's doing is extending rights to those who want to walk into vulnerable institutions.
Those bubble zones will have a radius of 50 meters after staff recommended a lower figure of 20. Similar bylaws have been passed in Vaughan and Brampton. Meanwhile, Toronto City Council has also decided to move ahead with a by-election to replace a member who stepped down to serve as an MP. Now, former Deputy Mayor and City Councillor Jennifer McKelvey represented Ward 25 Scarborough Rouge Park. She was elected as the Liberal MP for Ajax in last month's federal election. Councillors could have appointed a replacement, but they have opted instead to vote for a by-election. Nominations open on June 23rd, with the by-election date yet to be determined.
In Ottawa, Marco Mendicino will be staying on for now as Chief of Staff for the Prime Minister. Mark Carney says the Toronto MP agreed to serve as Chief of Staff after the Liberal leadership race during the election and the subsequent transition. The PM says Mendicino will be staying into the summer to support the launch of the government's mandate in Parliament and lead the transition of the PMO. CTV News political commentator Scott Reid spoke about the possibility of Mendicino running for Toronto mayor when he leaves his current role.
I've had a couple conversations with him about it. I think what I would say, to be very blunt, really transparent, is that he's been urged to run for mayor. It's something he's considering. I think he's excited by the possibility, but I don't think he's, and his wife may be watching this morning, so if I say that he needs to run for mayor, she may reach through the internet and strangle me. But I think it's on his mind. It's a strong possibility. And it just shows you that, you know, there's a guy with some options.
Reid says it seems Mendicino is staying on as Chief of Staff for now because the Liberals need to staff up the Prime Minister's office. Reid also thinks Mendicino could opt for the private sector when he returns to Toronto. The federal Conservatives have held on to a Windsor riding by 4 votes. Kathy Borelli has won the riding after a judicial recount confirmed her victory today. The Liberals called for a recount after the initial validated results saw the Liberal incumbent lose by 77 votes. The result does not change the House of Commons seat count.
Donald Trump is threatening a massive tariff against the European Union. The U.S. president says discussions with the EU are going nowhere and claims the bloc was formed to take advantage of the United States on trade. He's recommending a straight 50% duty on the EU starting next month. And Trump's also threatening tariffs against Apple. The U.S. president says he informed its CEO, Tim Cook, a long time ago he expects iPhones sold in the U.S. to be manufactured there. Trump says a duty of at least 25% must be paid by Apple should the company not oblige.
There's new optimism from the Premier that Canada may be closing in on a trade deal with the U.S. Canadian officials have said the focus right now is dealing with immediate challenges and getting tariffs removed. The U.S. has slapped tariffs on all Canadian goods that aren't CUSMA compliant. There are extra levies on some cars, steel, and aluminum as well. But Doug Ford believes some relief is within reach.
They were negotiating last night. I'm going to be speaking to Minister LeBlanc today sometime to get an update, to find out how the talks are going. And I'm confident we'll get a deal, hopefully in the next month or so.
Potential changes to Canada's free trade deal with Mexico and the United States are not expected to be discussed in any detail until next year.
A group of American senators will visit our nation's capital this afternoon to make their case for a partnership between Canada and the U.S.
I am glad the President of the United States and the Prime Minister had a positive first meeting. We are actually building on that with this bipartisan delegation to encourage these continued and immediate negotiations so we can get through these tariffs and get back to where we are.
The 4 Democrats and 1 Republican will meet with the Prime Minister as well as some senior cabinet ministers. Trade's expected to be top of the agenda amid the tariff war between the two countries. The senators plan to highlight the integrated supply chains in the auto and defense industries and discuss security cooperation. In BC, 2 grizzly bears were caught on camera in a bear hug. Take a look. Now, the cubs were closely tailed by their mom as they roamed the area looking for some post-meal play. Grizzlies are not year-round residents on Vancouver Island, but have been spotted up north between Campbell River and Port Hardy. Good to know. Lindsay.
Well, another thing that's good to know is that the rain is starting to taper off in some parts of southern Ontario. You might still have a few raindrops out your window right now, but here's what's expected as we make our way into the weekend. That area of low pressure we've been dealing with, it finally exits. There it goes. Behind it, with the wraparound effect, we continue to get some cloud cover for tomorrow, and the chance of showers really does continue into Sunday, but we should have more sun that day as well. If you're headed to cottage country, here's a look at what to expect tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday as well. Hey, there is a day in the 7-day forecast where our temperature will be seasonal. We'll show you when the warmth returns, at least temporarily, after this break here on CTV News.
A federal judge has blocked the Trump administration's decision to bar the Ivy League school from enrolling foreign students. On Thursday, the Department of Homeland Security announced the action, accusing the school of creating an unsafe environment on campus. In a lawsuit filed today, Harvard sued in response, saying the government's actions violate the First Amendment and warned it'll have a devastating effect on the school and more than 7,000 visa holders.
Back here at home, we're singing Rain, Rain, Go Away. Do not ruin our plans for another day.
Yeah, just give us a break. It's been, what, 3-4 straight days of clouds and rain, so hopefully we can get out of this.
Yeah, and it's been pretty steady rain. We really haven't had much in the way of a break. Depending on which corner of the GTA our viewers are joining us from right now, might be seeing some dry weather, but not everywhere. We're not completely finished with this low pressure system. We'll call today another day with periods of rain or light showers. Tomorrow is drier, but still cloudy. And then by Sunday, hopefully some sun. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. This morning, the windshield wipers were still working on the car as you were driving off to work or school. It is another mostly cloudy day today. A special weather statement has moved a little north and east of the GTA for today. Rainfall warnings have come to an end, so that's a good sign as well. Here's what's left of that special weather statement: an additional 10 to 20 millimeters of rain by the time all is said and done. Again, mainly east of the GTA and then north into cottage country. Here's the current, satellite and radar. So again, we are starting to dry out across southwestern Ontario, even the west end of the GTA, around the Golden Horseshoe into the Niagara Peninsula, but it continues to be quite unsettled for Toronto, areas to the north and east, in through the Kawarthas and Muskoka, over toward Kingston and Ottawa too. And there's a big picture look. There's a bit of a nor'easter happening in Atlantic Canada, and conditions are slowly sliding eastward with this low as we make our way through the night tonight and into the day tomorrow. You can even see here that we're still going to be dealing with a fair amount of cloud cover for your Saturday, but it is going to be drier overall. Here in Toronto, we can expect maybe another 2 millimeters of rain. That's nothing compared to what we've experienced so far. You just might still need the umbrella as you venture out later on today. So for example, there's 6 p.m., still quite unsettled. Into the overnight hours, that chance of showers is going to diminish. Saturday itself, cloudy as mentioned, and then the showers are more spotty in nature. So it's not a widespread area looking at steady rain, even if it is light. And then even into Saturday evening, late afternoon, early evening, Might get some peaks of sun before that sun sets. Sunday itself brings us a bit of an increase in cloud cover midday, chance of some passing showers, but I do think that by the late afternoon and early evening, once again, we will be enjoying more in the way of sunshine. And temperatures this weekend, bit of an improvement too. Right now we are at 11 degrees. It's 7 in Wyerton, double digits now across most parts of southern Ontario, but still well below seasonal. 21 is the average daytime high that we expect at this point in the month of May. We are below that, not record cold again. Yesterday, we only made it to a high of 10 degrees. We expect to be around 11 degrees around 8 p.m. tonight. We are tapping into a little bit of a northwesterly wind the next couple of days here, so that could keep us a little cool. But overall, nighttime temperatures, again, not the cold part of the weather story. It's the daytime highs. But look at Sunday and Monday. Monday especially, we're up around 20 degrees. Finally, doesn't last all that long. We're cool again through much of next week. Hopefully a return to more consistently seasonal values as we enter the month of June. That's the weather for now. Nathan, over to you.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. Art powered by imagination and storytelling. That's the story behind two new exhibits at the Power Plant Contemporary Art Gallery. And that's where we find our Jessica Smith. This sounds good, Jess.
Honestly, Nathan, this building is so cool. And if you don't know where it is, we're right down on Queens Quay by the water, right by the Harbourfront Centre. But the Power Plant Gallery is just breathtaking. And we're in one of the new exhibits. I'm joined by Adelina. You are the head curator here. Talk to me about this room because it is vast.
It is. It's our feature exhibition space called the LePage Gallery, and currently it has an exhibition by Toronto-based artist Emmanuel Ossahors, whose main interest is in painting gardens. It's something that he's developed during the pandemic as an interest, and when we invited him to do an exhibition here, he started dreaming of another place that he could make here in the gallery. So the title of the exhibition is actually To Dream of Other Places. So this wall mural that you see in the shades of blue and black is a night garden. So he was trying to invite us all to step into this other place where the world we know is left behind and where we are asked to come and find solace, beauty, healing. And gardens for him are a special place. And as you can see in the paintings hanging on top of that mural, he's inspired by them. He likes to create those imaginary spaces that are based in reality. All of those paintings are based on gardens that he has experienced himself, but then he takes liberties in creating and elaborating on those motifs.
And the other exhibit, similar theme, but it all comes down with video. You guys have this great mix of things that are maybe more traditional art pieces, and then you have the video. Talk to me about the other exhibit, because that's also by a Canadian artist, a Toronto-based artist.
Also a contemporary artist. So this shows you that contemporary art can have very traditional painting, traditional mediums, but then also video, which is a newer medium. So Sheila Keeley, based in Toronto, an artist who has a career of multiple decades, works mainly in drawing, but uses film as a way of diaristically of noting the environments that she travels in and she experiences. So we have a program of films dating from 1985 to 2017 called Film Notebooks. And in those films, we see Sheila traveling and recording with, at the beginning in the 80s, a Super 8 camera, and that Super 8 film has been transferred to digital for the exhibition. And later on, most recently with her iPhone, documenting places she encounters. And some of those places happen to be gardens with very particular histories.
And for people who don't know, it is free all the time to come through here. How important is it to have access to art like this, and especially to be able to showcase Toronto-based artists, people that we know that live in our communities?
Yeah, here at the Power Plant, we're lucky to offer free admission to anyone who wants to come visit our exhibitions or participate in our public programs, because we also offer a range of public programs for families, for adults, for emerging artists, and we believe in this concept of radical hospitality. Everyone is welcome. Come visit us any day of the week when we're open, Wednesday to Sunday, and be part of those and make art part of your life, because we really believe that art has the power to transform lives.
And it is so cool because this exhibit is vast. There's moving water inside of it. When we see these different types of pieces in this exhibit, what is it meant to do? Because you're able to kind of hear a little bit of the water, you're able to see the birds, and there's also a part of this that you're able to actually pick up and touch.
Yes, so it was very important for the artists to really push this artifice of the garden further and to transform the space and create this structure that is supporting his ceramics that are bird baths, but also with the water element. So it was important to bring in another sensorial experience. So the sound of water is something that he identifies with being in the garden. And the little birds are originally were like glazing tests for the water fountains, but they're those creatures that are always around us in the garden, but we cannot have them in the gallery. So he created them, and we have a few samples that the visitors can hold as a way of connecting to the work, but also because they're very inviting, and also because they are connected to this act of caring and tending that gardens kind of are about.
Well, Adelina, thank you so much. I'm feeling very zen. I'm going to walk through the garden, the night garden, and then go visit the other exhibit. I'm going to send things back inside to you.
Thank you, Jess. Well, getting around the city could be more difficult this weekend if you need to use Line 1. There will be no subway service between Shepherd Young and College stations on Saturday and Sunday. Crews are doing work on the tracks. Shuttle buses will be running. The TTC says regular subway service will resume on Monday at 6 a.m. There'll also be changes on the Lakeshore West Line for GO train riders to keep in mind this weekend. Service will run every 30 minutes between Oakville GO and Union Station on Saturday and Sunday. Replacement GO buses will be running between West Harbour and Oakville GO stations. There also won't be GO transit service at Appleby or Bronte stations aside from the early morning and late night Route 18 GO buses. Metrolink says these changes are being made to accommodate what it's describing as critical track work.
Coming up, the online trend touting mouth taping as a way to sleep better. Why a new study is putting the practice to bed, suggesting it could be dangerous.
Doctors in Canada and around the world are expressing concern about a practice being touted on social media as a way to eliminate snoring and sleep apnea.
But as our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, it could actually be harmful for some people.
Dr. Brian Rotenberg first noticed postings on TikTok and Instagram about mouth taping about 5 years ago, but he says 2 years ago its popularity exploded.
In all honesty, Pauline, I was very surprised that this is everywhere. And the people who are recommending this have large numbers of subscribers and followers, like thousands, tens of thousands.
So he and his colleagues began examining good quality medical studies from around the world to see if there is any real benefit to mouth tape for people who snore or who have sleep apnea. He even tried it himself.
So good quality evidence does not show any benefit at all from mouth taping. 20% does show some benefit, but we have to get a little bit nuanced here, that the benefit is likely statistical and not clinical.
He says sleep apnea is experienced by about 9% of the male population and 3 to 6% of females.
So sleep apnea is a disorder caused by collapsing of our throat when we're breathing at night. Tongue, palate, tonsils, all those things are blocking your airway. And if you're taping your mouth because your nose is blocked, so you've got throat closure, not a good nasal airway, and now you've blocked your mouth, this doesn't make any sense to do at all. And there's actually a real risk of harm with that.
The harm is that the body gets a reduced amount of oxygen at night, leading to fatigue, lack of deep sleep, and sometimes even headaches.
And then the issue is that over time, untreated apnea is associated with increased risk of heart attack, stroke, dementia, depression, and even higher rates of car accidents.
If you suffer from sleep apnea or snoring, there are various treatments, but Dr. Rotenberg says the first step is to get assessed by a proper health professional instead of resorting to unscientific methods. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Public Health Ontario says measles cases continue to climb, largely due to spread among people who have not been immunized. The latest weekly update shows 1,795 infections reported in Ontario since an infected individual traveled from New Brunswick in October. That's an increase of 173 from last week. 129 patients have been hospitalized with the virus. 121 of them were unvaccinated, including 92 children. This outbreak has centered most mostly in southwestern Ontario, but not entirely. Health experts say the vaccine remains the best defense against this highly contagious and potentially deadly virus.
The Ford government plans to boost capacity at teachers' colleges to help address Ontario's shortage of educators. The province says it will add 2,600 spaces at schools that offer a Bachelor of Education program. It will start as early as September. It'll pay for the spaces with the almost $56 million that was set aside in last week's budget to train new teachers by 2027. Ontario's College and Universities Minister says there'll be a focus on northern and rural areas, as well as tech education and French. This comes as separate provincial reviews consider whether to make that shorten the length of teachers' college from what is typically a 2-year program down to 1.
Reports out of Hollywood suggest a date has been set for a long-awaited sequel to hit theaters.
Both those belts look exactly the same to me. You know, I'm still learning about this stuff and...
This stuff?
Variety reports the second Devil Wears Prada movie will debut in May of 2026. That would be a full 20 years since the original, starring Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway, debuted. It's based on the best-selling book of the same name, dramatizing the world of high fashion. There's been no word on potential casting.
The Elden Ring was broken. But by whom? And why?
And staying at the movies, another video game franchise is officially making the leap to the big screen. The creators of Elden Ring say they're teaming up with A24 to create a live-action movie. It'll be helmed by director Alex Garland, also produced in part by Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin, who wrote the fantasy video game.
Looking to this coming weekend, Disney's likely to be riding high as it releases its latest live-action adaptation.
Control him. Hey, what are you doing?
According to Deadline, Lilo and Stitch brought in around $14 million U.S. in Thursday night previews. Analysts say it may be on track for a $150 million weekend. It's likely to beat out Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. It brought in about $8 million in Thursday previews. Hollywood insiders are watching to see if that propels it to a franchise best debut.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, get ready to pay more for many items as more companies say they plan to raise prices to deal with the tariff situation. Pat Foran's Consumer Alert after the break.
Last week, Loblaws and Walmart announced to be raising prices on certain items because of the ongoing trade war.
Now, other companies like Nike say they will be raising their prices for shoes and apparel, while Ralph Lauren said it, too, may have to hike the cost of its goods. CTV's Pat Foran has this Consumer Alert.
More than half of U.S. businesses surveyed by the Alliance Insurance Company say they plan to raise prices to cover the added costs of tariffs. For Canadians ordering products that come from outside of Canada, it means you could end up paying more.
There's a bit of a shock right now, a sticker shock.
Some consumers are contacting CTV News to say their online orders are showing additional charges for duties and tariffs. This towel, listed for $95, came to $209 with shipping, duties, and taxes. On another website, a $120 dress had duties of $21.60. On TikTok, a fan of Tate McRae was shocked when more than $100 was added to her clothing purchase from the singer's website.
$134 for government charges. I'm sorry, is Tate McRae works for the government?
It's a bit of a weird situation right now. Different manufacturers, smaller ones, are deciding how they want to show that tariff, if they want to show it at all.
While companies are dealing with the tariffs differently, most analysts agree they will cause consumer goods to cost more.
Prices are going to increase as a consequence of the current sort of geopolitical dynamics, specifically between the U.S. and Canada.
This marketing professor says now when you're buying an item, you should try to find out the seller's location and any tariffs that will be applied.
And if you're ordering from outside Canada, you're more likely to pay duties and import taxes, even if the site is a Canadian URL or prices are in Canadian dollars.
There is also a concern about big ticket items like the cost of vehicles. With the uncertainty in the auto market, many Canadians have purchased new and used cars over the past 3 months. Auto Trader says it expects prices to continue to rise if the tariff situation remains the same.
If they need to buy a car, buy it now, because if this is long term,
prices might go up even further. So if you're on the sidelines, if you have the financial means, pull the trigger.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
It's being called both fun and terrifying. A new wave of AI-generated videos where the machine creates not just the picture, but the sound. And as CTV's John Valley-Rouse shows, it's raising questions about what to believe.
Let's talk.
So what are we going to talk about now?
We can talk.
The new AI videos are striking, not just because of how good they look.
I make videos using VO3, yeah.
But how they sound. All of these people AI fabricated, and they can say whatever the user can dream up.
Imagine all the narrative possibilities.
Until now, such video clips were silent. One well-known AI researcher asking for a Broadway musical about garlic bread, typing in the request.
Garlic bread, my heart's true desire.
I got chills down to the base of my spine when I first saw this because the usual tells that AI generated this video were nowhere on display. Impossible to see.
Google this week unveiling its latest video generator that for now can create clips up to 8 seconds long. Text to video was first introduced publicly less than 3 years ago, but back then the results were low res and hardly convincing.
It's so over.
Now the lip movement matches sounds, and it's hard to tell it's fake.
And the moon
It is exciting, sort of these technological advances, but I think that this poses some pretty severe threats.
It's like they don't understand. Experts say now more than ever, people will need to be skeptical of videos posted by an unknown account. Google says it does embed invisible markers to help identify if video is AI generated.
There's efforts, well-meaning efforts by the tech companies to watermark AI-generated video, but that's always going to be something that can be defeated.
With flips not yet available in Canada, American users have been posting all sorts of videos as we plow into some messy and muddy, uncharted waters. John Valley-Rouse, CTV News.
Blue Jays were looking for the series sweep yesterday against the San Diego Padres. Nathan Lucas hit a walk-off single in the 11th as Toronto took it 7-6 to sweep their series with the Padres. The Jays now head to Tampa to open a 3-game series with the Rays tonight. First pitch is just after 7.
AFC Toronto was on the road last night visiting Montreal Roses FC in Northern Super League action.
Not able to be controlled there by Esther, and Koronko gets it back. Oh, there's a beautiful strike.
Toronto opened the scoring in the 34th minute with this goal from Esther Okoronkwo. The team added another goal in the second half to win the game 2-1 for their second straight victory. The next game is June 7th when they visit Ottawa Rapids FC. An 18-year-old tennis player from Toronto has qualified for her first Grand Slam main draw. Victoria Mboko beat her Slovenian opponent today in the final round of French Open qualifying. She now begins play on Sunday against Lulu Sun of New Zealand. It's the latest breakthrough for Mboko in a season where she's won 40 of 45 matches, mostly on the lower-tier ITF circuit. She's currently ranked 122nd.
A few months after canceling a show at Rogers Centre citing a medical issue, singer Billy Joel is revealing new details about his condition. The 76-year-old was scheduled to play in Toronto on March 15th. Today, a message was posted on his website canceling all of his upcoming scheduled concerts. He said he's been diagnosed with a brain disorder that causes problems with hearing, vision, and balance, and has been made worse by recent concert performances. Joel says he's following doctor's orders and undergoing therapy, but he's been told to refrain from performing during his recovery period. He's now scheduled to play Rogers Centre March 14th, 2026. Coming up, a rare chance to see inside buildings that are not typically open to the public. Details on the kickoff to Doors Open Toronto after the break.
Locals and visitors alike will be able to see some of Toronto's best-known buildings in an all-new way this weekend. Doors Open Toronto kicks off tomorrow, runs through Sunday, and it gives people rare access to buildings that are not typically open to the public, as well as free entry to spaces that usually charge admission. They include historic theaters, sports clubs, creative studios, and even City Hall, where guests can explore the council chamber and the mayor's office. More than 150 sites are participating, and the theme for this year's event is play.
Fun theme, and another reason to look forward to the weekend. Hopefully the weather cooperates.
Yeah, we can look forward to an improvement weather-wise this weekend. Not completely in the clear, not exactly warm, but warmer than we've been. And we're still getting some wet weather at this hour in parts of the GTA, but some are getting a break. Here's one more look at that radar imagery. If you're joining us from the west end of the GTA, might be dry where you are for now. I'm starting to see a few more showers develop around Guelph. You're still seeing wet weather in cities like Newmarket, Markham, and in through Durham region. That is expected to continue through this afternoon. Tomorrow's high, about 16 degrees. We can expect that for both Saturday and for Sunday. Little more in the way of sunshine on Sunday, but also still the chance of some midday showers. We're calling it a 30% chance of showers at this point over the weekend, so just plan accordingly. Maybe have an indoor backup option if you're having a barbecue, for example. And then the 7-day forecast, there's Monday, 20 degrees. It's going to be a little bit cooler beyond that, however. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, things are improving. Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.